Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is Legends and Legacies Tales of Phandelver. This is our first official session. Meet me in Phadalin. This is a bi-weekly game happening every other Tuesday, because on the other Tuesdays, I'm over on the Dice on Ice channel with Karen, actually. So yeah, on opposite Tuesdays, we are here, except when we're not, which was last week. Look at that. You guys are already right off the bat. I love it when people do this. Fellowship at the table, resubscribing for 3 months. And that means you have another domain die, or as we're calling them in this campaign, domain nuggets, a golden nugget of domainness. Myth and Gears Karen slipping in with that subtle meta subscription there. How did I do this? Okay, just you guys are getting loaded up with you're getting loaded up with domain dice and stuff right off the bat.
We're at the most dangerous level I'm for it.
So there we go. There we go. All right, and thank you, Fellowship of the Tables, for the 500-bit cheer. So you guys are up to 7 domain nuggets right now. So we're going to do a couple of super quick announcements. Sorry for the delay. We're missing our Scurry, our Tabaxi monk. Mike is hopefully going to be along shortly. Parenting duties call. So when he's ready, we will take a quick break and we'll get him in here. Otherwise, we're going to continue on as best we can without him. I want to super quick draw your attention to Jasper's Game Day and Initiative Coffee Company links, or rather, the logos there below Brian, below Undertow in the lower left corner. At any time, you can type !Jasper or !Coffee in the chat, and you can bring up the links to direct donate to Jasper's Game Day. The second link will link you to where you can purchase Metadare Roast Coffee, which is actually a collaboration between Mini Terrain Domain and Initiative Coffee Company. That's Brian and I working together. Well, Brian's doing all the work really on that, but through their help action, we are able to bring you a wonderful Brazilian and Peruvian medium roast that for every 12-ounce bag you purchase, $3 of which goes to benefit Jasper's Game Day.
Can I sneak in a super special announcement about that help action program?
Absolutely.
The first Monday of November, the Monday after Game Hole Con, we're launching the third benefit roast through the Help Action program in collaboration with Ivan Van Norman and Kids on Bikes.
Fantastic.
And the charity it will benefit is St. Jude. So if you're looking for a way to give some money to St. Jude, we'll give them $3 if you buy our coffee. So there you go.
Fantastic. Also, a shout out to Jason, our friend Everjay, who has just resubscribed for 17 months. Continuing that ongoing subscription. I think Jason may actually be the second subscriber I ever had. I think what you're looking at is our first subscriber and hasn't beat by 1 month. So we'll see who's the first one to miss a month and gets to claim that top tier. But that got you another domain nugget. So now is a good time to say just what the heck domain nuggets are. Looking up above Karen's head there, you will see the domain nuggets logo and some dice along with a dice modifier up there. The explanation is scrolling across the bottom of the screen, or you can type domain dice in the chat or !domain dice. And the guidelines for that will pop up. Every $5 tip or 500-bit cheer, subscriptions, resubscriptions, and even raids will earn domain nuggets for these players. They can spend 1 domain nugget to re-roll any D20 roll and take the new roll. They can spend 2 to make me, the DM, re-roll a D20 roll and take the new roll. 3 domain nuggets will allow you to use hit dice outside of healing, outside of your normal rest. And that is only that person that claimed it. It's not the whole party, just the one person. 4 domain dice will allow you to turn a failed death saving throw into a successful death saving throw. Unless it is a critical failure, it will take you 8 domain dice to fix that little blunder. And finally, 5 domain dice will turn any hit into a super crit. That is an automatic double max damage critical hit. Looking down in the lower right-hand corner, you will see just below Todd or Colley's window the D&D Beyond logo. That is because D&D Beyond has granted Mini Terrain Domain insider access, and that is how we are able to bring you awesome stuff like bouncing over the stream and seeing everybody's character sheets and how few hit points they have at level 1. So thank you to D&D Beyond for that awesomeness. Now, the very last thing that I want to talk about, and that's because mental health and mental health awareness is important. One of the reasons why we partnered with Jasper's Game Day. If you find yourself struggling at any point and you need somebody to talk to, type !help in the chat. And you will find some wonderful resources that are available to you. All you have to do is reach out with your phone. In the United States, you can call the National Suicide Hotline 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. Or you can text 741-741. If you are in Canada, you can text CONNECT for English or PARLER for French to 686-868. Or, also toll-free and also 24/7, you can call 1-833-456-4566. And there are trained professionals who can talk to you in French or English waiting on the other end of that line. Please, if you need help, do not hesitate to reach out and use that service. So, without further ado, we're going to do a quick recap and we're going to get into the action. So, when last we got together, it was ostensibly a session 0 that we just naturally and organically rolled into some role playing, and we got to meet Terra Dead Branch, Chumeli. Sorry, these are so small on this screen for some reason. Undertow, Scurry, and Colley Viral. And all of them were looking to make a change, to move on. They happened to find at the southern gate of Neverwinter that a dwarf by the name of Gundren Rockseeker and his human companion Sildar Holwinter were waiting and looking to hire a horse to pull a cart of supplies to the town of Phandalin, where Colley happens to be from. They seemed to be in luck when Colley appeared on horseback, and Tara had her shopmaster having recently deceased and leaving the shop to her. She sold the shop and was looking to sell the horse. Instead, sold the horse in the service of pulling the wagon. Melee, Scurry, and Undertow also were looking to find ways out of the city or just looking for something to do. Scurry and Colley got off to a little bit of a rough start because Colley, being the son of merchants, has that sort of look, a little bit of a nobility. We'll call it a frontier nobility about him. He wouldn't pass for nobility within the the noble proper of Neverwinter. or water deep, but definitely out on the frontier. He is of the upper tier. And Scurry, having only recently escaped from being captured by merchants who treated her like property, she was very hesitant around him. Undertow is just a jolly fellow from under the water who's looking to spread the good word of the sea, and does seem to have a little bit of, we'll say, a misunderstanding of how there's a slight, not even a language barrier, just a comprehension barrier, perhaps. And Mei Li is from far away, finding herself in a strange place with strange customs, but is quickly trying to adapt. Of course, as is not uncommon in any situation, this group was able to bond over food and gold. As the always wheeling and dealing Collie worked into the deal the purchase of Magna's meat pockets from a local vendor. They got, each of them got some paper wrapped meat pockets from the vendor who was making them at her grill cart there. And Gundren told them all to meet him in Phandalin. He and Sildar had to ride ahead on their own horses, and that they would meet in about a day and a half in Phandalin. And that is where we left off. You, the five of you, are currently waiting for the traffic to shift. Or rather, at this point, the traffic has shifted. We're kind of looking at what happened. We're going to get you started actually on the road here in a few minutes, or in a moment. But you had to wait for the traffic to shift as all of the incoming traffic was flooding the gate. And then everything shifts and all of the outgoing traffic can head out. I think I know the answer to this, but I want to let you, the party, decide. Was it Collie's horse or Tara's horse that is getting hitched to the wagon load of supplies? Collie's pointing at Tara.
I would think it'd probably be mine, since mine is used to pulling wagons.
I want to verify that we're talking about raisin horses, right?
Yes, we are talking about raisin horses.
Just making it clear.
Yeah, so that you can get headed on down the current, as Undertow put it. While you're waiting, Sildar and Gundren were able to slip through with them not having a cart, on horseback. They hit the road, and they did seem to be in a hurry. So we're going to cut to the road. You five are traveling. You have this cart load of supplies. You are heading down the road on your way to Phandalin. You have Tara's horse has been hitched up. The horses were hired out for an extra 5 gold, and Tara, you were told to meet up with Barthen at Barthen's Provisions to see about actually selling the horse once you reached Phandalin. So as you are on the road, I'm going to turn it over to all of you to get to know one another, ask questions. It's a beautiful day. Autumn is approaching, but right now the sound you hear is the rickety clatter of the cart, some of the supplies bouncing around in the cart. You hear that of the horse's hoofs on the hard-packed dirt as you are heading along south towards Phandalin, ultimately towards the Tribor Trail, so you can turn towards Phandalin. What would you like to do?
These beasts, they seem much more like cows than horses. I'm very surprised.
What kind of comparison do you have? Because these are
Well-
definitely horses.
Well, cows are large animals. Horses are small animals. Occasionally, you surface folk do inappropriate things to cattle in the sea, but that's neither here nor there, I suppose. I'm surprised to see such large horses. Usually, they're very small.
Depends on the horse.
Well, I suppose that could be true. I don't recall any stories about gigantic horses, but they don't really look like horses either. But I don't know.
Well, how did you envision a horse to look like?
Maybe about
Oh,
yay big,
you're
curly
talking
tails.
water horse, right?
I mean, I'm talking about horses. Maybe, sure, I guess. We just call them horses where I come from.
But they're in the ocean, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
where I come from.
These are land horses, much
Are
bigger.
all land horses this big?
Depends on the breed.
Oh, well, the more you know.
But they are definitely bigger than this.
They are far larger than that. Yeah, the Tide Mother would be pleased to see such knowledge come the way of her clergy.
What's the Tide Mother?
The Tide Mother, the Lady of Waves. She is my lady. She guides me.
Right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I don't. Do you not have deities on the surface? Is that not something that Raisin culture has adopted?
We do. I just didn't know yours was called the Tide Mother. I was curious.
What are you fiddling with? That's very interesting.
Oh, this is a death deck of cards.
A death deck of cards?
Correct. I've pulled one for each one of you.
That's unsettling.
We're all pretty safe, except for Tara. I don't know. Sorry.
That's
So this death deck of cards, it kills us or it tells us how we're going to die?
No, they're just cards, playing cards, but they have like death faces on them or other faces on them, and well, that's how I kind of gauge people at first.
Oh,
By cards.
Just pull the cards.
Do they have some kind of magic power, or do you just use whimsy to determine?
They win money, and that's about it. You know, traveling a lot, I got to entertain myself, so I just have a normal deck of cards. Oof. I guess I'm going to die with you, Tara. Never mind. Forget these cards.
can I see?
Sure. I'll ride over close. Hand you the cards. And then I'll go, Undertow, did any of us bother to ask what exactly we're carrying in this cart?
I don't think so.
I assume mining supplies. I don't.
What if it's a dead body? What if we have dead bodies in there?
It does not smell like a dead body.
You have piqued my curiosity, Mr. Verol.
If I weren't driving.
Is there any like expectation that we don't look in the cart? Like, was that part of like the contract?
I don't recall him saying not to.
Well, I'm gonna look. What's in the cart?
There you go. What's in the cart? I like your tenacity.
So, are you currently walking alongside the cart?
What kind of cart? Are we looking at like a wagon or like a small like one axle cart?
So I'm going to say, because we didn't specify that. So we're going to say that this is a 2-axle cart. It's open top. It is drawn by a single horse, so it's a narrow cart. And it is loaded down with, you can see that there are a couple barrels in there, and there's a few other things that are under tarps. Scurry is currently curled up, not even bothering with what's in there. Scurry has curled up,
so that makes sense.
So you can see, obviously, you can see that there are, as I said, a couple barrels, there's a couple crates, and then there's whatever's under the tarp. So you could clamber up on the cart and absolutely take a look. And
Is there
go ahead.
Sorry, is there a seat for somebody to drive the horse?
Yeah. I assumed, and I should have asked, but I assumed that Tara was driving the horse since it was her horse. And then Collie is sort of just riding alongside and sort of moving in tandem with the cart. So as for Mei Li and Undertow, it's up to you if you would walk along. There would be room for you if you would have clambered up onto and ridden in the wagon.
Yeah, I think just based on the conversation we were having, I probably would have been sitting next to Tara.
So you're just going to kind of flip up the tarp and take a look?
Yeah. Yeah, what could go wrong?
All right. Hold on, I got to roll a d4 to see how many dead bodies are in there.
To see what could go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, is that a d4 or a d6? No, it's you see under the tarp that there are mining supplies. There are a lot of hammers, and there are shovels and pickaxes. There are there's a bunch of rope, some smaller shovels. Yeah, just a wide variety. A few lanterns. There's quite a few bullseye lanterns under there that are lined up. Let's say maybe a dozen bullseye lanterns. One of the barrels that's sloshing is a barrel of lantern oil.
Probably, I probably turn to Collie and say, Mr. Barrel, it looks like sticks and strange containers. And some rope. There's quite a bit of rope.
All right.
The sticks are metal. I don't know if that helps. They have weird shapes. This one's flat and wide. This one's pointed.
So not dead bodies, which was what I was kind of hoping we weren't carrying. So good. This is good.
Right.
We got paid an absorbent amount of money to bring these supplies to the next town over. We got paid more money than what these supplies are worth for some reason. So I feel very good about this. This is great.
It occurs to me that maybe we should think about why we're being paid more money than the supplies are worth to escort the supplies.
Maybe the employers are dunces? Hold on. Let's ask the cards. Hold on. Give me a second.
You say these weren't magic
Could
cards?
be they're desperate.
No, they're dragons. They're actually dragons hired us. So it's perfectly makes sense now.
Oh, they have plenty of money, I'm given to understand. This should be a non-issue.
Yeah, not a shut off.
Anybody that
trying
would like to can make an insight check.
Oh, thank God.
Everything, sorry, Brian, everything in this game is going to be decided by role play.
20.
Anybody else inciting?
I'll try.
Or I should say making an insight check. We don't need anybody inciting anything.
I did not do very well, so no.
So we got a 20. What else did we get?
I got a 7.
I got a whole 5.
I got a 6. So we're all doing great.
We're good at this.
Really a team anchor here.
So, so Undertow, you could definitely tell that there was an anxiousness in Gundren, even though he projected this sort of good-natured persona. He was very eager to get moving, and once you all were hired and gold had changed hands, within 10 minutes
he skipped town, right?
Within 10 minutes he and Sildar had mounted up and rode very quickly out of the gate, slipping in between the wagons on their horses, and they left. As soon as they were out of the gate, they took off at a pretty good pace, so they were in a hurry to get somewhere. Presumably Phandalin, since that's where they said for you to meet them. But they wanted to get there quicker than what it would be to drag the cart behind them.
It seems as if our employers have they went with the high tide yesterday and didn't wait. So I don't know what could have caused that. Perhaps they are just busy people and require being in that Phandelver location sooner than would be arranged by escorting a presumably slower wagon. I don't know. I don't know how fast your land horses go, or how much slower they are when weighed down with supplies and carts and whatnot. Um,
Clarification for the DM, please. Would I know of anything going on in my hometown that would make sense of why these people were in a rush to get there? Or was I been gone for a little bit too long? I don't know.
It's not that you've been gone for too long. You're not aware of anything in particular, which would make it seem odd that they were in such a hurry to get to Phadalin. It hasn't been that long since you've been there. And sure, your parents are the ones that have the business. You've helped out quite a bit. But from your mind, it's always been sort of business as usual around there. It's kind of a slowly growing frontier town in between the big cities. Trying to make a name for itself. And it's off the high road, off the Tribor Trail, and kind of nestled in the foothills of the Sword Mountains. And a little bit of money in mining and selling to people traveling from within the forests and the mountains and stuff like that. But nothing that seems like why this dwarf and this human would be so eager to get there.
I'm from Phandalin, and I can't make sense of why this stuff would be going there, or why that dwarf and human were in a rush to get there, other than the fact that it's just unexplainable, the actions of dragons in the sky sometimes. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
We're really leaning into this deck of non-magic cards to tell our futures, aren't we?
It's more of just a prediction. It's not really telling our futures. I mean, except for me and Tara, we're both going to die, which is technically correct. One day we will, I'm sure.
No, you're not wrong on that one. Just not anytime soon, hopefully.
Look, I've spent a lot of time alone the last couple of years. I'm just trying to make conversation. I don't know how to socially interact. I'm sorry. I got you meat pies. I did the best I could.
They were very tasty meat pies.
And they were very, very good.
Oh, good. Now, they said I'm supposed to scout a little bit. What is that entitled? What am I supposed to do?
You're supposed to scout? Presumably you look ahead. You ride ahead a bit.
Oh.
And make sure that we're not going to be marauded by some sort of land-based pirate.
Okay. All right. Right on then. And I will ride ahead and act like do my best to look like I'm looking around.
How far ahead are you going to ride?
I'm
going to go 10 feet and then look back to Undertow and be like...
Generally further downstream than that, Collie. Give it like, I don't know, like 100 feet. 100 feet. This is like an open plain, or is it like a forest?
So... for most of the time that you've been traveling, there's sparse trees, occasionally small copses of trees, and small forested area pushes up against the road. You've been traveling for, you traveled for most of the day, and then traveling for half a day yet again. You know that you're supposed to be making a turn sometime soon for the Tribor Trail, though Kali is the only one who really knows where that is. So there are patches where you can see, every once in a while you can catch a glimpse to the west of the sea far off in the distance, but only when the trees part and you're up higher. It's a good 5+ miles out to the sea. Kali,
about go try 100 feet. Not to worry, the tides of fate will protect you.
Kali, go ahead and give me a survival check. I always love when people laugh because it either means they have a really high score or a really low score.
I rolled a 12 and we got +2, so 14.
The road, it's interesting. This road is very familiar to you. And you know the Tribord Trail is actually just up ahead. But you're seeing it from a different perspective. You're seeing it from the perspective now of somebody who's no longer alone. You're with a group of people. And you're escorting somebody else's goods. And it just changes that perspective. It's kind of like if you've ever worked in a tavern or something like that. You view the tavern or the storefront one way, and then when you start working there, suddenly you're behind the counter and you see how everything's done. You view it in an entirely different way. You're seeing things from this slightly different perspective. You don't see any threats, nothing to worry about. In fact, you see just up the ways about 1/8 of a mile is where the road turns to head east, inland, towards Phandelver. And it's not long before the rest of you and your wagon, you arrive at this intersection, and Tara, you're able to very easily, following Colley's lead, guide around the curve and take up this new trail that's a little more rutted, perhaps answering the question undertow as to why they can move quicker without the wagon. On this trail in particular, you and Tara and Mei Li and even Scurry sleeping in the wagon are definitely feeling the jostle of the road a lot more, getting bounced around every once in a while. Colley, do you continue to stay 100 feet? Do you come back a little ways and then move out? How are you proceeding?
I would wait for the for them to get to the road with me, and then really quick, would I know in Phandalin, are all the supplies in the cart, can they be bought in Phandalin if they were just in Phandalin?
Not in this quantity. Sure, okay. Some of the stuff could be, but Barthen, and Barthen is one in particular who sells a lot of supplies, and even he doesn't have this amount.
Okay.
I'm looking for a name real quick that I will give you. That name being, where is it? So yeah, tell me what you're doing as I look for this name.
We're gonna look up my intelligence really quick. Okay, so as the cart gets close to me, I'm gonna go, I got it, everybody. In Phandalin, you can't buy this amount of supplies. So they're paying us to get these supplies there, which means there's something big to be dug up there. Probably a dragon's hoard is what I'm guessing.
The name that I was looking for is Lenine Greywind, and she runs the Lion Shield Coster, which is another sundry supplier in Phandalin that you know of. And even between the two of them, there's no way they could get this volume of supplies. They wouldn't have it on hand.
What are these things used for? These sticks, these flat sticks and these pointy sticks.
They dig holes in the grounds and caves, and they pull like rocks and stones and all sorts of precious stuff out of the earth, out of the core of the earth, or out of the ground, the planet.
Oh, they're like clam prize.
Yeah, exactly. And then I ride ahead. He's clearly too intelligent for me, is what I'm thinking. I have to ride away.
Suddenly, Colley just gives, yeah, that's exactly what I meant. And disappears around a bend. Collie,
Must be big clams.
as you head around this bend in the road, the road momentarily dips between a couple of hillocks with they're grass covered. There's a few trees in this area. Some of the forest is starting to close in really close, and it's quiet. Too quiet. The sun is blotted out just a little bit by the overhang of the tree branches. And you see in the road in front of you, about 50 feet, 2 dead horses. Several black arrows with crow feather flights are embedded in their bodies. Blood has long since pooled out of them into the sand and sort of turned into these bloody, dried clumps of mud around the horses. What do you do?
The arrows are in the horses. There's no corpses.
Not that you can see at the moment. You're about 50 feet away from them.
I will stop immediately and kind of just backpedal the horse a little bit. And for the first time, show an ounce of seriousness and just kind of behind me, just go like this as the wagon's coming up. Tell them to hold up for 1 second. And I'll try to get a better glance as I'm backing up.
Give me an investigation check at disadvantage because of your distance.
I rolled a 4 and a 4, so
You're too far away to really get a good look. Give me roll me a d20.
15.
Your horse is sort of pawing at the ground and sort of wickering a little bit, pulling back a bit, almost fighting against you. Something is unsettling it, perhaps the dead horses. The rest of you, Tara, as you bring the cart around the bend, you see Collie stopped up ahead and is sort of backing his horse up a little bit, and he motions to you to stop.
I'll stop the wagon, kind of pat in the back. Shh. Something's going on. Be on alert.
All right, what are you going to do, Collie?
I am going to dismount.
All right.
And try to walk the horse back towards the cart, a more safer distance away from a spot that I guess I can assume was an ambush spot.
Okay, sure. Yeah, no problem. You walk your horse back towards the wagon.
And well, everybody, there seems to be 2 dead horses up ahead, which means if people were riding them, something happened. And my horse doesn't want to go any further, so I'm going to latch it to the cart here. And then I don't know what to do. I'm just a merchant's son.
How wide is this copse of trees?
At this point, the trees have sort of pushed in. It's not like a dense forest. It's more, I would say, newer growth trees, closer to the road, but they're still, these are probably trees that are like 30, 40 years old. And it's forest on either side at this point. You've turned off of the high road onto the Tribord Trail, and you've been here for just a little bit.
Just for frame of reference, what time of day is it?
I would say at this point, it's probably around midday. We'll say we'll call it somewhere in that 2-3 o'clock time frame.
I don't know how you typically engage. I'd like to be respectful of local customs. How do you engage in this situation typically?
Well, when this happens, I usually get off my horse, I hide behind a tree, and if I see a bandit, I just surge on it.
Those are like land pirates, bandits.
Land pirates.
Okay. We don't see. I look for land pirates.
Give me an investigation check.
+2, 16.
I know whatever we do, we're going to be triumphant. That's what the card says. So.
Oh, okay.
You see a lot of trees, and you can just make out probably at this point, because he came back to you and stopped you, I'd say probably about 75, 80 feet ahead of you. In the road, you see the shapes of the 2 dead horses, and you see several arrows in their flesh.
Well, I we have some mer creatures that are what you describe as bandits as well. Perhaps we can negotiate with them. No? Why not?
But the only negotiation with bandits is to give them your stuff. And
But
we
they've
have a
already
job to
taken-
do. They hired us in good faith. We're going to do our job. So I suggest we just wait here until the bandits leave or hide behind a tree and ambush the ambushers.
But what if the bandits have already left? What if they've already finished their grim business and that's why there's dead land horses on the road? We could be waiting for days and be
That's
late.
semantics, Undertow. That's semantics. And I start heading towards the tree line.
Collie, what is your armor class?
12.
Well, so much for negotiating.
So much.
And I have to see here. We've got Undertow and Mei Lee are in the back of the wagon, correct? So
Maylee probably would have been walking alongside.
Okay.
The
left
entire time.
or right?
Left. The roadside, not actually. No, she would be on the. Would the cart be taking up the entire road that we're traveling on?
It's a little more than a 2-track, so pretty much. It's not like a wide 2-lane road or anything.
Yeah, I'd say she would be on the right then.
And Undertow, you're in the back.
I thought I was like on the bench next to Tara.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So
just right out in the open.
So
about to get hit by an arrow?
no half cover.
No.
What's your armor class?
Mine?
Yeah.
Not good. It is good. It's 17.
That's
I don't know how that
so
happened.
both dice rolled a 13, so that is a 17 to hit Collie and Undertow. As you suddenly hear thum, thum, as Undertow and Collie, you each get hit with an arrow. Now this is gonna be interesting at level 1 because you don't have a lot of hit points. Collie, you take 8 points of piercing damage.
Down goes Cully.
Woof.
Whoa.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Good night.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Collie's got 7 hit points. Collie, as he's saying this about ambushing the ambushers, he turns and takes this arrow, and it sort of spins him, and he drops. Undertow, you take 4 points of piercing damage as this arrow strikes you. And it strikes you in the left arm. At the same moment, dropping down from either side of the hill, sliding down, you see these sort of grayish, yellow-skinned creatures, little more than 3 feet tall, wild hair, pointy ears, huge noses, wielding wicked looking chip-bladed scimitars. As they slide down, they begin rushing towards you. And I need you all to roll for initiative. And yes, Collie, you will roll for initiative because we need to see where you make your death saves.
Would that happen to have been Draconic, perchance?
It would not. What languages do each of you speak? Tara, what languages do you speak? I'm going to have a cheat sheet set up for our next game.
I speak Common, Draconic, and Dwarvish.
Haley?
Common, Draconic, and Elvish.
Collie?
I speak Abyssal, Common, Halfling, Primordial.
And Undertow?
I speak Common, Primordial, Elvish, Celestial, Draconic, and Deep Speech.
None of you understand what these things are saying.
Well, I'm dead, so.
Well, yeah, you're unconscious. You're not dead, you're just unconscious.
All right.
Or to quote the Princess Bride, you're mostly dead. All right, so, and then I need to roll for goblins. Wow. That's, let me see what they're here. So that's, all right, so, Tara, what'd you get?
Sorry, I got a 4.
Melee?
18.
Undertow?
16.
Scurry still asleep in the back of the wagon? Collie?
What do you add to that? Just +2? Your
add-
dex modifier?
You should have a spot on your character sheet that says initiative.
Yeah, so you add that. Okay, so I got a 9 total.
Okay. So the initiative order is going to be Melee is going to go first, followed by Undertow, followed by Collie, and then the Goblin Archers, the Goblin Swords folk, and last will be Tara. Melee, as your two companions are struck with arrows from somewhere in the trees, and two goblins come rushing in towards you. They are currently, we'll say they're about 50 feet away from you. What would you like to do?
Without even really thinking about it, Melee's hand kind of dashes out and points towards one of the goblins that is coming down the hill. And words in her native tongue come forth, probably not understood by anybody. But what happens is the shimmering, the sheath beside her kind of shimmers a little bit. The designs on it flare a bit, and then this almost like energy pulses through her arm down, like kind of snake coiling around her arm a little bit, and shoots out that hand that she's got. Speeds towards the goblin. And it almost, for an instant, if you're watching it, looks somewhat like a snake as it flies towards this creature, but a sickly black red as it shoots out. And I'm Eldritch blasting this creature.
Very cool.
Trying to.
All right.
That will be a 22 to hit.
That is absolutely going to hit. Were you aiming at the one on the left or the one on the right?
The one furthest away.
They're both equal distant from you because they came from either side of the road. So you have these two hills that rise up on either side of the road.
Yeah.
And they each came from either side and sort of slid down the hill and started running towards you.
I think I would be whatever side Collie was on, that's the one I would hit from.
Okay.
If he was like hit from the left or whatever, that's the one I'd be hitting. Oh, and I rolled a 1 on that. So that is 1 point of force.
You see the one goblin just and it just seems to make him more angry. Anything else? Bonus actions or anything?
Sorry, just check my sheet. I don't know if I have a bonus action I can do, but I'd like to pull out my longsword if that's a bonus action, or if that's I'm not
It's
sure.
an object interaction, which is a free action, basically.
Okay, then I would pull that out and basically ready for where I'm standing. I'd be ready for the next turn. I guess facing the one that's going to come down on my side.
Okay. Undertow.
Undertow stands up and he shouts at one of the goblins charging at him, and he says, "You have struck me with a harpoon, and I am unpleased. So is my lady, and I need I need the one that's on Culley's side to make a dexterity saving throw as I utter some deeply unsettling thing in deep speech, and steam rises up around its face, boiling at its face."
It's a 17.
Well, it narrowly avoided being sacred flamed in the face. As a bonus action, I will say something in an equally unsettling language and provide Kali with 7 hit points from a healing word spell. And then I will drop down beside the cart and take cover because I am not doing awesome.
I feel like Todd feels vindicated that his first ever 5e combat was going to start with him unconscious.
I'm kind of hoping I get shot again and go right back down to be hysterical.
So you see this goblin come running, and as you utter these words, it sort of swats at its face where the steam is rising, and it just drops down and sort of does this weird sort of it like goes into a power slide and sort of does a spin and moves back up onto its feet, like it just dodged under whatever this effect was, not really understanding it. And you see these things are pretty nimble. As Collie, you actually with an arrow sticking in your shoulder, you suddenly snap awake. You are prone. It will take half your movement for you to get to your feet, but you have your full turn ahead of you. Okay. And it is your turn.
It is my turn. All right. Now I'm upset. Let me go to my character sheet. Hold on. Stand by. Stand by. Let's see here. I don't know where I am. I am going to so my D&D Beyond's not loading. Give me a second. I apologize. That's it. I guess I'm not allowed to play. There we go. So I am going to look at the spells that I have. And how far are they from this point?
They are 50 feet from you.
All right. I'm going to check the range of this spell. All right, 120 feet. So I'm going to kind of look at it, and I'm just going to go fathom and dial and shoot a chaos bolt at it.
All right.
That's
are you that's weird. I was having problems with D&D Beyond too. Are you shooting it from the ground, or did you stand up?
Can I not shoot it from the ground?
No, you absolutely can shoot it from the ground.
Yeah, because as a bonus action, I'm going to be able to get up for free.
You don't have to use a bonus action. Yeah, it's just getting up. Well,
after I cast a spell, I'm going to do something pretty cool. So I rolled a hit with this, right? This is just plus 5. So
Yep, you make a melee spell attack.
I rolled a 16 plus 5.
Yeah, that's a hit.
All right. So it's 2d8 plus 6, and we will pick the purple die to tell us what kind of spell it is. And I guess if the 8s match, you get some bonus, some bonus. So the 8s match, it's a 5 and a 5. So it's 10, 12 points of damage, and then I'll tell you what.
I think it jumps to the next target on the match.
Yeah, so you pick one of them. They were both 5s, so it is lightning damage.
So lightning damage, and then it will jump to the next target.
And you make a new attack against that target.
You roll the damage. Yeah, it has to jump to a different creature within 30 feet.
Yep, and the other goblin is within 30 feet.
All right, make a new attack roll. I rolled an 11 plus 5, 16.
That is a hit.
All right, and the purple die again will determine the dice damage. So I rolled a 6 on the d6, and then a 2. So the 8s don't match. So it's an 8. It's 14 points of poison damage on the second one.
How many points?
14. Am I reading that right? It's 2d6, 2d8 plus 6.
Yeah,
right?
and a hit, the target takes 2d8 plus 1d6 damage.
Yeah.
That is, Chaos Bolt is like the coolest spell I've never used. I've had it used in my games a lot, but I've never used it. So Kali suddenly just, and you look ahead and you just shoot this magic off. This lightning just goes and hits this first goblin, who just immediately does a backflip and lands face down in a singed, smoldering pile on the ground. The energy starts as electricity and just contorts into this poison energy as it hits the other goblin that was running toward, and it does a pirouette and collapses as it drops to its knees and begins and just uncontrollably begins vomiting onto the ground, and with a final it collapses dead.
As soon as the lightning leaves my finger, a gust of wind all of a sudden starts enveloping around me, and I almost as if I fly, I'm going to shoot up onto my feet and fly back 10 feet, standing shoulder to shoulder with whoever's the closest people.
Somebody's a Stormborn sorcerer. That's real cool.
Is that a feature?
It is a bonus action after you cast. After you cast
spell.
A first level spell or higher, it allows you to fly to 10 feet without provoking an opportunity of attack.
Fantastic.
So a gust of air surrounds you and you kind of like push off of it.
So Kali shows himself to be a little more than just a merchant's son, as you blast these two goblins and you fly back 10 feet. And as this wind dies down, you are definitely getting targeted because of having just killed the two goblins. The second arrow is going to fly towards 1, 2, 3. All right. So the first arrow flying towards you, Kali, is another 17. That's 6 points of piercing damage.
Still up.
As you take an arrow in your left arm. I have a body hit die that I use for these kind of things. Another arrow, and you feel it hit bone, and the pain just racks your body. As you're spinning from this hit, the second arrow that was also targeting you, you turn and the arrow just goes right past you, hits the ground, ricochets up, and you hear it clatter somewhere in the trees as that one missed horribly. But I would like all of you to make perception checks. I'm going to say, Collie, you do so with advantage.
With advantage. All right.
He doesn't look super pumped about his advantaged perception check.
Oh, I'm super pumped. Natural 20.
Oh, okay.
A 20?
Natural 20.
So you are able to determine that there are 2 archers, and they are in the trees, one on either side of the road.
Closer to the 50-foot range?
These are, because you're all the way back by the cart, these seem to be closer to the 80-foot range. They seem to be more or less in the range of, or in line with where the dead horses are. And the arrows that you can clearly see sticking out of your arm match the black crow-feathered arrows that were also perforating the horses.
Clarification. I can cast 2 first-level spells. They can be the same spell. So I could cast Chaos Bolt again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to know when it comes around to my turn. Okay.
Oh, yeah, because of spell slots?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that is absolutely correct. So that was the goblin archers' turns, and then they are okay. They're dead. So Tara, it is your turn. As this has all pretty much happened within the last few seconds.
Presumably, I will have my crossbow out for such an occasion. So I'm going to go ahead and fire towards the archer.
Okay. Give me a perception check and tell me if you're aiming to the left one or the right one.
10.
Are you aiming left or right?
Always go left.
So you are shooting blindly into the trees.
Okay.
So you will be rolling at disadvantage.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not going to make you roll at disadvantage. I'm going to use cover rules to mitigate this instead. So go ahead and take your shot.
Okay. Come on. 12.
Your shot, you hear that sort of the as it leaves the crossbow, and then you hear that of your crossbow bolt cutting through many trees, many leaves, and you see a few leaves sort of flutter down, but you don't think you hit anything.
Go ahead and reload and wait for my next go around.
Melee, you also cannot see these 2 archers.
And you said both of the ones that came out of the trees are dead?
The 2 that were running towards you are dead. What is everyone's passive perception? Since I forgot to grab that at the beginning.
11.
13.
Also 13.
I'm a 14 passive perception.
Okay. So Melee, you can actually see on the right hand side just a flicker of movement.
I didn't catch that with that perception check of nat 20. Oh, never mind. I see what you're saying.
A flicker movement on the, you said right hand side?
Yep. You kind of you think you have a little better idea that there's an archer there also in the trees.
I would like to actually, I will turn towards that and actively look for where this creature could be.
All
So I
right,
just kind of use it a glance.
you can make an active perception or an investigation.
Oh, 8. The sun must be in my eyes or something.
Just as a reminder, you do have 8 domain dice available at your discretion. That's a reminder for all of you, not just Karen. Anybody can choose to use a domain die.
Can we use them to make you reroll saves too, or is that different?
You can use 2 domain dice to
2.
make me re-roll any d20 roll. And we have established, since it could well come up, since Cully already got knocked out once, we have established in other games that they can also be used for... or no, wait, that was covered under that. There was something else they were used for. Never mind. Carry on. I'll let you know when I remember what it was.
So Melee, not quite knowing exactly where this creature is, will shoot again an Eldritch Blast towards where she thinks it might be.
What is the range on your Eldritch Blast?
120.
Okay, you're good.
So do I roll at disadvantage for this, or?
Nope.
No?
No, I'm using cover
Okay.
to mitigate.
So that it would be 15.
You see this sort of, as your serpent-like Eldritch Blast darts through the trees, you see leaves scatter, a few branches, small branches fall, and there's almost this hole in the foliage for a moment, but you don't think you hit your goblin. Your goblin is in the collective your, not your goblin implying ownership.
All right,
Not
then.
yet.
Melee would continue to look in that direction, trying to get sight on this creature, but otherwise my turn is over.
Undertow.
Do I see them with a 17 perception?
Actually, you can see both of them.
Oh. How far away are they?
They are both in the trees, one on either side of the road, about 10 feet up in the trees, and in line with the horses, 80 feet away.
So geographically, that's 90 feet away?
It's still 80 feet line of sight.
Okay.
Because it's at a slight upward angle. It's still...
D&D doesn't take place on a Euclidean plane. Guys,
Exactly.
non-Euclidean
Exactly.
Plane. God, I'm a nerd.
Don't make me do complex math. It will never work out. That is its own form of chaos bolt. Sometimes it'll work in your favor. Sometimes it'll work horribly against you.
What is this, the Paragon system? I think I'm just gonna levy my crossbow at the one that's on the side that I'm also on, taking cover behind the wagon, to provide longer cover.
Left or right?
I guess the right side, because I'm on the right side of the wagon.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a crit.
Okay. So the way I do crits is automatic max damage, including modifiers, and then re-roll any damage dice again and add that to.
Cool. So that's 8 and 4 and 1. 5, 13 damage.
And what are you...
Light crossbow?
With a light crossbow? What's the range on that?
80 feet.
Okay.
That's why I asked.
Yeah. You... And then you hear... Thunk, as this goblin falls out of the tree. And as he falls to the ground and tumbles down the hill and into the road, you see the crossbow bolt sticking out of his throat. By your reckoning, there's only one goblin left. Is that the end of your turn?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Coley. You're muted.
I'm just gonna be like, do you still want to negotiate? And then I'm gonna smile wickedly at Undertow and run towards that last goblin to get closer in range.
All right.
Like run up, slide, and I'm just gonna go fathom and dial and shoot that another chaos bolt at it.
All right. First of all, you need to make a perception check to see if you can see him.
I thought I already could because I got that natural 20.
I thought that was on a different check.
No, that was a perception.
Was it
check.
on that one? Okay, never mind. You're good then. You see him. Roll your chaos bolt.
16 plus 5 again, 21.
That is going to hit.
All right. The purple die will determine the damage type. So it will be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 points of. It was a 4. 12 points of 1, 2, 3, 4. What is that? Force damage.
You see the branches and the leaves just out of the way, and this goblin is knocked back 10 feet where it slams into another tree, falls, hits a branch, and does a sort of double flip ragdoll and lands in the brush dead.
Did I get when I cast the spell, did I get close enough to a tree? Like was I in underneath it, trying to run towards like a tree line?
The tree line is up the hill.
Oh, so there's nothing around me, no brush, no nothing.
There's just these sort of grassy embankments that are coming down toward. So you basically were able to move about 30 feet up and get up kind of almost like running up against a wall, but it's this steep hill, and fire up at this thing.
Okay. And after I cast it, I'm going to again do the gust of wind and move myself a further 10 feet forward and try to get up on top of that hill to look over it.
You're going to use the gust of wind. How far does the gust of wind move you?
10 feet.
That wouldn't get you up the hill.
Okay. Then I just kind of slide into that stance, shoot it. I saw it die.
You did.
I'm going to look back and be like, I got him. Almost amazed that I actually killed the goblin.
Everybody give me another perception check. What you got?
I am so excited I killed the goblin that I cannot see anything. I rolled a 1.
What'd everybody else get?
I got a 16 this time.
I also got a 16.
Whopping 4.
Melee and Undertow. As Collie turns back and says, I got him. You both see a 5th goblin up on the hill looking down at Collie. And it quickly looks towards you, and you see it. You see the wide eyes. And it suddenly pushes itself. It was kind of down in a crouch, and it pushes itself up and turns. And this is on the left side of the road, which would be to the north, and it turns and goes as you hear it beating feet somewhere through the woods to the north. And that is where we are going to take a quick break. We're going to go ahead and take a brief 10-minute break to refresh beverages, use the restroom, do whatever you got to do, and then we're going to come back and finish this session out. So please stick around. I have a some commercials that'll run during the break, advertising some things coming up, some ways you can support the channel. And ignore the part where it talks about the Forge of Fury because it's actually Ghost of Saltmarsh. I still have to update this. But everything else is valid. So stick around. Thank you, everybody, by the way, who is sticking around with us in the chat. We've had about 10 or so people hanging out with us most of the night. So thank you. We greatly appreciate you sticking with us and watching this. And we will be right back. Sorry, I don't have commercials. I lied. We will have commercials in the future, but please still stick around. back. Narrowly have you defeated the goblins. Kali was knocked down immediately, but was revived very quickly by Undertow. And Kali was almost immediately knocked back down. Kali took 2 arrows to the arm. Undertow has taken an arrow. The others escaped damage. Somebody's got some wicked weird feedback that just came through. It was a weird static thing.
Sounds like a phone was ringing.
You also, Undertow and Melee, you saw one final goblin that was crouching in the underbrush just above Kali look at you and beat feet heading to the north through the woods. What would you like to do?
The goblin that I killed with my crossbow, I would like to take a moment. I'm not going to hide it, but I'm also not going to announce it. I'm going to go to the goblin and cast Sacred Flame on his face, so it is a little boiled and marred.
Okay.
I'm yelling, one's getting away.
Did I hear
One's-
that from where I am? Am I close enough to hear that?
I'd be yelling as hard as I could.
Oh, you absolutely hear it.
And I'm pointing behind you.
I will start running after it, and I'll yell behind me, "Jump on my horse and follow me!"
Aren't
Shoot
we
with
supposed to
arrow.
watch the cart? No?
So Kali scrambles up the hill. Is anybody else giving chase?
How far away is it by now?
Well, you don't know exactly how fast these goblins are, but it looked like it took off at a sprint. And it's got the drop on you. So Kali's already scrambling up the hill, which takes him a little bit of effort to get up this steep hill.
Melee will follow Kali if for no other reason but to protect him.
I'm gonna call after them and say it's a distraction. They're luring us away from the cart.
They're not luring everybody away. I'm still here.
Well, I was mostly talking to the people that were being lured away. But thank you for pointing that out. Yes,
So
you're doing the right thing.
Right?
Kali and
Right?
Melee, you scramble up this hill, and you run into the woods, and very quickly you realize that this is a thick wood, and you're not really sure where this goblin went. You don't see him. Picture this scene as you come running up there. First, Kali, you're up in there, and you run a little ways in, and now you see the cameras moving around you while you're looking around, trying to figure out where this thing went. And as camera comes completely around you, Melee comes running up behind you, and you're both looking. And I need both of you to make either investigation or survival checks.
I would have, if I heard Undertow say, "Don't go," it's a distraction. I probably would have stopped. I would have stopped.
You're
been
pretty
listening
much, it's
what
about the
everybody's
time you
saying.
get to the top of the hill and you're
Okay.
in there. So you didn't go very far in. It's not like you ran 100 feet in or anything.
What am I rolling? You said survival or what?
Survival or investigation?
Oh, so
Your
I'll pick
choice.
survival. I'll pick survival. 9 plus 2 would be an 11.
And what about you, Melee?
I
11?
also got an 11 survival. Yeah.
You both looking around, and you do not hear it. You do not see it. And you hear Undertow yelling up at you, and then you can kind of hear Undertow and Tara's voices just behind you and down at the road. And you both spot it almost at the same time. There's a trail. You move just a few feet to the left, and you see it looks like little more than a game trail, but you actually see quite a few goblin footprints to and fro. And more prints seem to lead along this trail to the north.
There's more footprints going away than coming? Or can I
Yes.
not make that out?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to look. Melee standing beside me?
Yep.
I'm going to say, maybe we should go back. I have an arrow sticking out of me.
That is wise. Undertow is right. We should not get distracted from our purpose.
Right.
We can warn the townsfolk when we get there about this place.
Let's go. I start heading back.
A few moments pass, Tara and Undertow, and you see Melee and Kali return.
That's good to see you come back alive. I mean, one of you is not being dragged by the other.
Well done, everybody. That was amazing. I have determined that you are correct. This deck that said we would be okay lied to me. It's worthless. And I throw the death deck over my head and cards go everywhere. And I reach into my bag and I go, but this death deck, this is our guidance.
Sensing a pattern here.
Sensing a very bad pattern here.
So,
Tara, I don't understand what he is doing, but what I do know is that they were more than just the ones that attacked us. There was a whole trail that led north. We should warn the town when we get there.
I think that's a wise idea, yes.
I need to find
Wow.
someone to pull this arrow out. I don't feel good.
To pull it out? Oh, I could pull it out.
I'm losing a lot of blood.
are you going to pull it out yourself, or are you going to let, actually them, I should say, the arrows, plural, because you got hit with two of them.
Yeah, I'm not touching them. I'm not.
You're going to let Undertow remove them?
Yeah, if he's offering to. Yeah, I don't want to do it.
You just want them out? I mean, anybody can pull them out. All right, hold still.
Whatever makes the pain go away. I feel very.
Oh,
weak.
it might make it worse, but this arrow looks foul. It reminds me of, you called it an arrow? It reminds me of those foul Quatoa beasts from the sea.
Mm,
They're vicious bolts of pain,
those
I guess.
death token nut hook beasts they are.
Yeah. Hold still a minute. Do you want me to? I'm going to try a medicine check, I guess.
Well, it's good, because I was going to ask you to make a medicine check.
Yeah. I'm super not this kind of cleric, but I have a bonus, I guess. I have a high wisdom, so that's cocked. That's a 11 plus 3. 14?
That's good enough. You're able to pull the arrow out without inflicting more damage.
That's good, because I think he's at 1 hit point.
That's the first. That's the first arrow.
Oh, there's another one. That's
yes,
right.
there
That's,
is a second arrow. It
try
does
again.
hurt, Coley. It hurts a lot, and blood begins to run down your arm, but you don't take any more damage. Now,
that one's a 9.
this one, Undertow has to put a little extra strength in it. Sort of, he seems to know what he's doing, but then he reaches out with one hand, grabs your bicep, and braces himself against your bicep with the arrow in it. This is the one that went in and hit bone. So it's stuck, and he pulls and just, and at the same time pushes. And you look at Undertow, and he looks like he might be saying something to you, but what you hear is, and then everything turns sideways as you fall unconscious. You take one more point of damage, and you do fall unconscious.
And thus begins your second saving throw program.
Anybody can make a medicine check to try to stabilize him.
I've come this far. That's a 10.
That's all you need to staunch the flow of blood. And for the moment, Kali, you are unconscious, but you are not dying.
I imagine I just like jam my finger in the hole that the arrow made. I'm just like
it works.
I don't think I can move right now.
Do you know what you're doing?
I'm not. Sure. I mean, I know what I'm doing. I don't know if it's the right thing, but I know what I'm doing. I'm putting my finger in this hole.
Thanks to 20 sides to every story for the raid and host, you earned another domain die. As Undertow has become a little Dutch boy, staunching the flow of blood.
I assume this will stop at some point.
You're just announcing that to everybody else.
Mm-hmm. I have a plan. I have an idea. I'm going to use my shape water cantrip to put the blood back in him. Blood is mostly water, right?
You may not know what the technology for the separation of blood and plasma may not exist yet.
I'd like to make a protest. He is a stormborn sorcerer. I would argue that his blood is mostly seawater.
and that surely can be Undertow's perception. A few droplets of blood do swirl and sort of meander their way toward the hole, but it doesn't have the effect you were hoping that it would.
Fine, and then I'll cast Healing Word. 7 points.
I wondered if you were sitting on a healing spell this whole time.
I was, but that's it. Like, we need a long rest if you want any more.
So what is the healing word? How much does that heal?
7 points.
Do you cast that before or after you pull your finger out of the wound?
I mean, I don't want to get healed inside of the wound. That would be.
That's not what I was gonna do.
Like, I don't want.
I'm just determining if Kali wakes
itself.
up. If Kali wakes up with your finger in his arm or not.
You know what? Sure, that sounds fun.
Excellent, Kali. You come to once again. Undertow is standing over you, and you can feel him literally poking your bone in your arm as his finger is inside one of the arrow wounds.
You haven't even bought me dinner yet. I feel better.
That's humorous.
Is that what you do in the water? That's how you heal people. You just stick your fingers in their
well,
wound.
that was to stop it from getting worse before I made it better. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, okay. Well, just.
I mean, if you don't want me to heal you next time, that's fine. I'll just.
I like the healing. Perhaps just not the bone prodding. If you could just.
I mean, I wanted to not be wasteful of the Lady of Waves resources, but. You
know what? I appreciate you and the lady. Do whatever you want when I go down.
Good to know.
So, you do have the problem of looking at the side chat and the reactions of Karen and Yvonne, the problem of phrasing, but also the problem of 2 dead horses blocking your path. Those are still about 80 feet ahead of you in the middle of the river. Not river, the road. Undertow's got me thinking water.
The current? It's called a current.
Yes, the current. Did you say not it?
Not it.
Whatever it is, Tara is not.
I mean, we just moved them, right? What could a land horse possibly weigh?
You would be surprised.
You go right for it. I'm sure they're no heavier than your water horses.
We could use Kali's horse to pull the other horses.
No, let him try to move it on his own first. Remember,
Cully's gonna start making his way to the goblins he electrocuted, poisoned, and force bolted and searching them.
All right, Cully's looting the bodies. Now it's D&D. You managed to scrounge up a grand total of 1 gold piece, 2 silver pieces, and 10 copper pieces.
I will walk up to Tara and put all the coin right on the seat next to her in the cart. Like, that's for all of us. That's what those goblins had.
don't spend it all in one place.
Well, it's for all of us. This for every. This was. You're my companions. I was supposed to scout ahead for you, which I failed miserably at. But hey,
That's not true. You found
I found the arrows.
enemies.
That's all right.
Hard way. Yeah. Or they found you.
Well-
Undertow, you gonna go move that horse?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look, and I'm gonna walk up to the horse. I'll get there and I'll say, "This was very misleading. I thought they were very small. In fact, I was just very far away." And I'll like shove it, and I'll be like, You're sure this is a horse and not a cow? This is much more similar to sea cows."
I am very positive that this is a horse.
In weight and stature, these are far more similar to sea cows than sea horses. So I'm just a
Well,
little confused.
Remember, this is a land horse.
That's
not
true. I have. It was foolish of me to make an assumption.
Undertow.
3 arrows in the back.
As you're struggling with this horse, you notice that there's something familiar, not about the horse, but more about the tack on the horse. Under the saddle is an embroidered red blanket that has this gold embroidery around the edges. And it stands out in your mind because you distinctly remember seeing that same blanket under the saddle of the horse that Gundren Rockseeker was on
Cool.
when him and
Cool.
Sildar headed out of town. And this looks very much like it's the same horse. You do also notice, since you're very close proximity, that the saddlebags on this horse look to be opened and emptied. And lying in the dirt next to this horse, kind of in between this horse and the horse next to it, you see what looks like a leather map case.
Is there a map in the map case?
Well, you'd have to take a closer look at it.
Oh, I suppose. Yeah.
It
mean,
might be
step
much
one
bigger than you expect. It's further away.
It's true. Step 1, I'm going to remove the saddle and take the blanket because it looks nice.
Well,
It looks very regal.
it's stained with blood, and
It's
it is
red.
it is pinned to the horse by at least 1 arrow.
Oh, I know how to take those out.
Oh, well, we've established that.
Yeah, I'm real good at that.
All right, so you take a few moments to unhook the saddle and pull this nice red and gold embroidered blanket.
And then I'll grab the map pack, the map case.
As you pick it
That's
up,
what it is.
it's sort of flops open, and you see that it is also empty. The whatever it was that was carried by Sildar and Gundren, it has been looted from these horses, and their horses lie dead, and you see no signs of either of the 2 men.
I'll take it back. I'm going to grab the saddlebags too. Basically, whatever my 8 strength can carry. So not the horses, clearly. But I'm given to understand that RPGs are all about inventory management, but that could be just because I've been
Exactly.
playing the wrong ones lately. So I'm going to bring the saddlebags and the map case and this blanket back to the group and say, well, I am. Looks like the tide has carried us back to our friend brother Rockseeker. Though I don't know where he is currently. It looks like that was his land horse. Did we get paid up front by any chance?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you did.
This is fortuitous news.
That's our employer's horse.
I mean, this is our employer's horse's horse blanket. So, by process of extension, I would say that was probably our employer's horse, unless it was stolen and put on a different horse between then and now.
And our employer?
Well, nowhere to be found. That's the, I guess, neutral news.
Maylee would look to Collie at that, and maybe they took him wherever they were going. How far away is the town, Collie?
Why, the town is only Dungeon Master.
You are still about 5, 10. You're still about 20 miles away.
I was
How
gonna
many hours is that?
about
Like
3
a
days.
day, 2 days, 3 days.
days.
20 miles with horses and even by cart is
miles a
only
day?
5 miles. Or 5.
One
5
day.
hours.
20 miles is only 5 miles away, is what I just said. See what I told you, Brian, about making me do math?
So 5 hours away. So we could get there by dark. Well,
With allowing for the fact that you have a wagon, you're probably about 8 hours of travel.
That's after we get these horses off the road.
And that's assuming, yeah, you still have a little ways to go.
I don't think. Well, do you think they'd still be alive?
I think they might have met the same fate as us, and their bodies could just be sitting somewhere else.
Was there any blood at the scene, as if they were also shot? Or, well, I guess there's a lot of horse blood.
Nobody investigated the scene.
Just a moment, friends, and I will return to the scene. And I will investigate the scene.
I will go with you and help.
Oh, are you proficient in investigation?
No.
We are blindly investigating the scene. That sure is a lot of blood. I got a 5.
Again, you have 9 domain dice at your disposal.
I will use a domain die. Oh, that's better. That's a 21.
I'm going to look at Tara and go, the cards say that they fell in love.
Really?
I'm just saying. Just throwing that out there.
Oh.
Undertow and Melee, as you are taking a closer look, now that you seem to have sort of pieced some information together, you begin looking over the scene, and your initial assessment is that, yes, there is a lot of blood, and it seems to be the horse's blood. And it would be difficult to tell if there were anybody else's blood just from the volume of it. But as you begin looking around, you notice that there are goblin footprints all around these horses. And you notice that there are a concentration of footprints in the immediate area of the bodies of the horses. There's drag marks. 2 distinct sets of drag marks that go on for about 6 feet or so. And then they seem to vanish, but the multitude of goblin feet that's concentrated begins moving towards the hill and up the hill, which I don't know. Did Melee and Collie, did you tell them that there was a trail? Yeah, you told them there was a trail.
Melee did.
And it definitely, Melee, you know because you were up there that it leads up towards where that trail was heading to the north. It looks like Sildar and Gundren may have been dragged away. Alive or dead, you don't know, but it looks like they were possibly dragged away by the goblins.
If they're alive, I doubt they have time for us to go to the town and come back. But if they're dead, I mean, we can't just leave the wagon here for just anybody to pick off. So,
What if we left Scurry with the wagon and investigated without him? Her.
There's a few areas in this area that you feel that you could confidently pull the wagon off the road and into the trees a little ways. You'd have to go back just a little bit to get past where these hills rise up on either side, but you'd be able to pull it off onto the side and either tie the wagon and the horse or take the horses with you. However you wanted to do that, you would, if you chose to, you could pull the wagon off into the trees.
And leave Scurry with the wagon?
to
Sure.
guard it. Seems pretty.
I think that's what we'll do then. Back up and go hide the wagon.
We've been traveling all day. Perhaps we should rest before we go walking in. That seems like a lot of goblins are up that way. There's no use of going to find them and then just getting ourselves captured or killed alongside them. If they're still
Okay.
alive to this point, there's a reason why they're being kept alive.
It's a valid point.
We have to just trust in their resolve. Did we find anything else at the scene? I mean, this is all starting to sound suspicious. These people hire us to bring tools, pay us more than what the tools are worth, which means they're probably after something to dig up something, and now they're ambushed at a peculiar moment by goblins of all things that aren't really known for their intelligence.
How much do you really know about goblins, though?
But how much do we know about Brother Rockseeker?
How much do I know about goblins being a traveling merchant on these roads?
Make a nature check.
Perfect. That'd be a natural one.
You know only what you've heard.
Disgusting creatures. They're good with arrows.
You know only what you've heard plus recent firsthand experience.
They're master sharpshooters.
So in terms of a rest, it is about 3:00 in the afternoon. So, and you're also considering weighing the options of the potential survival, if they're still alive, of these individuals. The difference between a long rest and a short rest is stopping and taking an hour to recover via hit dice and any other options you may have, or deciding that you're going to camp out and let them. You're either going to camp for 8 hours and take off in the wee hours of the morning, or you're going to take an even longer long rest, and the longer that you wait, that's the longer that they're out there. Just I'm not trying to sway your opinion either way. I'm just putting the facts out there as you're weighing your decision.
How long does it take for spells to refresh?
A long rest.
It takes a long rest.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Sorry.
you don't have the. When does meta? That's not what I'm trying
Level
to say.
3. Sorcerers get
The-
magic at level 3.
Yeah, the font of magic.
Chew gets spells back on a short rest because warlocks are warlocks.
Melee would get spell slots back, but I don't think Melee used any spell slots.
No, Melee did not. Melee is we're now talking a third person, willing to let them rest while she scouts. If that is,
I would just simply say is I'm not an adventurer. I'm all for going to find these folks, opposed to leaving them to their demise. But I've done everything I could. I can only do so many more things. I'm afraid that I'd be useless. I would just be a pincushion.
I would have to consult with the Tide Mother in order to be able to provide you any degree of healing waters, and that takes a good deal of time. It would take about 8 hours.
Melee, you really want to scout ahead? And I've traveled these roads quite a bit alone. I'm at a loss. Part of me is really looking forward to this, and I was excited to move some tools back and forth. But I'm just a merchant's son. I don't know how to walk into a goblin encampment and save people.
well, the other option is just to fulfill our contract and take the supplies to town.
Well, I am confident that if we rest, everything will be okay, and we'll go in there and we'll be just fine. And I'm not relying on cards anymore.
So
Did
you
say that already?
No, that was the other deck. This is cards in general.
So you guys are sitting around and kind of discussing what you're going to do. And if Maylee did decide that she wanted to scout ahead about 10, 15 minutes or something, you could essentially choose to get the benefits of a short rest, depending on Maylee's, what she finds out before you decide if you want to take a full long rest.
I think that's a fair assessment. Party. What
that's a
does
good
everybody
plan.
else say?
I think that's a good plan. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and this isn't normal that you would be able to sort of stack them, but I'm allowing it in this unique situation. So if Maylee chooses to scout ahead, then the other three of you, as necessary, most notably, I think it's Undertow and Collie, that need to, or did you heal him up completely again?
Oh, he's doing better than I am right now. I gave him.
So
another
you can
7
spend any
points.
hit dice, which is only the one at this level, to regain any hit points as per a short rest. Maylee.
Before she leaves, I'm gonna grab her hand and say, "The waters of wisdom are with you," and grant her the guidance cantrip for her next skill check.
And that lasts.
I don't know, not long. Probably long enough to make one skill
I was
check.
just say it's either 1 or 10 minutes. I can't
It's
remember.
1 minute,
Okay.
so use it quick.
And I'm
Maylee
gonna
will bow. Thank you.
before Melee leaves, I'm gonna take a piece of that copper coin, and I'm gonna cast distort value on it to make it look like it's much more valuable than just a copper coin. And I'm gonna tell her if she gets in trouble, just offer this as a buyout. Doing this has saved me quite a bunch of times in poker games when I was caught cheating.
Distort value. That's a neat spell.
That sounds like an Acquisitions Incorporated spell. It really does.
Am I not supposed to have that?
No, I'm allowing it. I'm actually getting even more lax on what I'm allowing. So, I think the Ink spells, there's some fun spells in there. They tend to be centered around business. That seems like totally like an Omendron type of spell, or a Jim Dark Magic. So, Maylee, you are going to scout about 10 or 15 minutes up the path. I would like you to make a perception or survival check as you are traveling the path, scouting ahead.
It will be survival. And what was guidance again? To get a
If Jake lets you use it, it's plus 1d4.
okay.
If you use it, you'd have to use it right at the beginning, and that's only going to get you started on your scouting. So, because you're going to end up making 2 of these checks, so you can do it on your first one.
I'll do it on my first one because I want to make sure I get the right trail.
Well, you have to, because your other check's going to be at the end of the time period, which is well beyond the spell. So
Yeah. So that will be a 19 survival.
you actually are finding that you can see where the goblins moved right along this game trail, and in spots where they're not walking across the leaves, you see footprints that look like they're weighted down, like they were probably carrying Gundren and Sildar. You follow this path for 10 or 15 minutes. Make me another perception or survival check.
Oh, that's such a bad roll. That'll be a 5 survival.
You're watching where these goblins appear to be carrying them, and you're noticing the bunched up nature of the goblins' footprints as they've been carrying these 2 bodies. And as you're watching, you sort of realize after about 10 minutes or so, you're watching, and then you realize your scanning is getting wider and wider, and you're like, oh, that's odd. One set of goblins went this way around this side of the trail, and one set went this way around this side of the trail. And just as you're realizing that they've split and have actually skirted the edges of the trail, you hear, "Fwing!" Something tightly wraps around your ankle. Your feet are yanked out from under you, and you find yourself swinging from a vine 10 feet above the trail, like a pendulum. And that is where we are going to end tonight's session. With Maylee in a snare trap, dangling upside down. I'm not going to lie, Karen. I was hoping you were going to fail that.
Well, it seems fitting because my character is really not a scout at all.
So, thus concludes Meet Me in Phandalin, Session 1 of Legends and Legacies, Tales of Phandelver, in which you did not meet anyone in Phandalin. But it appears that your fate is being laid out before you, regardless of what Cully's cards say. Either in support of or to the contrary. So, yeah, that was our first session. I hope you guys had fun. I know I did. And thank you to everybody that tuned in tonight. Quite a few people have been with us throughout this evening, and we appreciate you hanging out with us. You can see Legends and Legacies every other Tuesday. So today is the 8th of October. That means we will return on the 15th, that Tuesday. Next week, Tuesday,
We'll return the 22nd. There's 2 Tuesdays from
Yes,
today.
that's right. Because again, I'm not kidding when I tell you I can't math. Yes, we will return on the 22nd, because on the 15th, you will find Karen and I over on Dice on Ice RPG. Speaking of Dice on Ice RPG, tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Mini Terrain Domain, tune in for Spire, The City Must Fall, game mastered by Connor of Dice on Ice and produced by Megan of Dice on Ice. It is a Mini Terrain Domain Presents game run by them with some amazing players, Lloyd Collins, Philip Maddie, and Jeff Doty. And as I said, Megan is producing, but she's also one of the players in that. That is our only non-D&D stream that happens on the channel. It uses the Spire setting. And it's just incredible role players and incredible production. Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, you can tune in here to catch episode 11 of The Dawnbringers, Ghosts of Saltmarsh, season 3, episode 11, as yet untitled, as they are preparing to face off against some smugglers / slavers. We are down DM Scotty, who, again, he has not clarified if this is a con or if he is actually going to Valhalla, but he will not be with us on Thursday because he is going to Valhalla. But in his place, playing an original character, we will be joined by none other than Mr. Dan Dillon of Wizards of the Coast, who will be filling that seat as a guest player. So we're very excited to have Dan join us for that. So tune in. You won't want to miss that. And on Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern, as is every Friday here, is another Mini Terrain Domain Presents CFTRPG's presentation of Curse of Strahd, run by Alan of Check for Traps. Again, with another great group of players, Lionel, Chad, Sam, Tamiko, and I think that's it, just the 4 of them. Wonderful group, really unique. Alan is just an amazing game master, and he has really high production value as well. And you'll see that right here on Mini Terrain Domain. Thank you again to everybody who tuned in. Thank you, of course, to Fellowship of the Tables, Myth and Gears, our own Karen with the Meta subscription, Jason Everj for the resubs, and thank you to 20 Sides to Every Story for the raid and host a little while ago. We greatly appreciate all of you. And, of course, a very awesome thank you to Yvonne, Karen, Brian, and Todd, and Mike. We're sorry you couldn't join us tonight. I know the little one has been protesting bedtime. Up until just like a half hour ago, I checked in with him, and the kid was still screaming. So our sympathies go out to you, Mike, and hopefully you'll be able to join us next time. So until we get together in 2 weeks here for Legends and Legacies, Tales of Phandelver, we're going to go ahead and we are going to end this stream the same way we end every stream. And you can say it with me if you want.